Good morning. I'm just going to wait for you guys to all jump on. People are piling in. That's awesome. Happy to see you. All right, let me just get everybody situated. Jumping on all at once. That's good. Welcome this morning. Today's class. This is episode number 44 of our spiritual sovereignty series. We've been talking about spiritual sovereignty all year, and we're literally down to the wire. I've been wondering, how much more could we talk about in regards to spiritual sovereignty? And apparently there's still more. Usually what I do when I get topics, when I come up with topics for our free classes on Tuesdays is I'll wait to see how God wants to direct me in regards to who's going to show up or who's going to watch the replay. And so I ask for guidance. I ask for inspiration there. All day Monday, I was praying and asking and meditating and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I was like, I know, God, I know, Lord, we've talked about spiritual sovereignty to death this year. I know we've done that, but could you please just give me something, throw me a bone here. So by the late afternoon, early evening, I was really starting to stress a little bit, thinking, I have no idea what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I'm sure something amazing will come out. And then just before dinner, I was sitting on the couch having some conversation, thinking and talking about some very specific illnesses in regards to mental illness and how that has affected my life and the lives of people that I care about, and how the effects of mental illness ripple out everywhere and affect everyone. They touch everyone's lives. So I thought, well, how does that even relate to sovereignty, to spiritual sovereignty? And my gut tells me this is my thoughts. And if you guys have additional thoughts, feel free to chime in. I would love to hear your perspectives on some of these things as we talk about mental illness today. So the theme or the topic for our today's free class is spiritual sovereignty through resolving mental illness. I think that part of our spiritual sovereignty journey has to do with learning self-governance, learning how to regulate your own inner environment, your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, your attitudes, all those things. That's your inner environment. How you respond to the world, how you see the world, how you react to the world. I think this is a huge, now that I sit and think about it, this is a huge aspect of spiritual sovereignty or self-governance. I have a story. So my oldest daughter, when she went to college, I took her for her college freshman orientation. And as we were sitting in some of those classes, I got to hear the perspective of the campus medical doctor who was over the clinic there on campus. And he said, do you want to know what the number one thing is we treat here? And I thought it would have been like the flu, head colds, sprained ankles. The campus is up on a hill. And I had no idea. I was blindsided by this statistic. He said the number one thing that we treat here in our clinic on campus is anxiety and depression. He said, in fact, it's almost all we treat here. And he said, I am just a family practitioner. I'm not a specialist in the psychology of human beings. And all I can do is give them drugs and medication to help numb their internal environment. And I went and talked to him after that was over because I was really fascinated, intrigued by that, because at the time, that's what I was doing was I do quantum healing, and I was doing one-on-one mentoring for women who had anxiety as a result of trauma and PTSD. And I thought, why do all of these teenagers have anxiety? What is at the root of that? And what he told me is that parenting has changed over the years, and the world has changed over the years. There's a lot more fear in the world than there ever used to be. And parents are a lot more laxed than they ever used to be. And children are not learning how to work. They're not learning how to cope. They don't have good coping mechanisms. They don't know how to self-regulate or self-govern. And so when they get out into the real world, they are automatically victims to fear and stress because they don't know how to cope with those things. And so I thought, you know what? I think that could be true for the majority of the world that we live in, especially in our Western society, where things are very chaotic and busy and fear-based. So, how can we develop spiritual sovereignty in a way that helps us self-regulate mental illness? Now, um, I'm not going to bring any of these things up by way of trying to be judgmental of anyone who has issues with mental illness. I myself battled anxiety and depression for 20 years. And some of the things that helped me the most are things that we're going to talk about today that could potentially help one or two or many of you. So if you feel that this class is going to be helpful for you or is helpful for you, please don't be afraid to share it, especially when the replay comes out on my YouTube channel, Great Life, Greater Impact. Please share this with your loved ones if you think that it could help them troubleshoot and find roots and solutions to their mental illness problems. Now, mental illness can lead to delusions, it can lead to addictions, it can lead to losing touch with reality. That's delusional. It can lead to erratic behavior. It can lead to self-destruction, can lead to abuse, narcissism. So I don't think there is something more important that we could be talking about today than self-governance, learning how to self-regulate, and learning how to tap into your higher self. So with that being said, I am going to do a screen share because I prepared some notes. It's just a way for me to follow the notes that I put together this morning as I was, in fact, the way that these notes came about was a conversation that was had when I opened up the question of, what do you think is at the root of mental illness? I asked it at the dinner table and I got this flood of information, which then led me to some books that I have, which then led me to a couple of books that I borrowed even to just give you guys some tools and resources. I will give you those books, tools, and resources, even some resources from my own quantum healing program, which is a certification program. You can find that over on my website, greatlifegreaterimpact.com. And you can get registered to participate in the members area through subscription, or you can participate in the certification program and become a certified mentor, if that's something that you feel called to do. What else? Oh, also,
Something real quick.
yes, go ahead.
I could not figure out how to get on that last week. I was so frustrated. I'm like, sorry, I hate to admit I couldn't figure out something.
Yeah, because last week we had a major glitch with the link that was sent out. It wouldn't allow you to join now. But this week it's better. The link that was sent out to you guys to register for class has a join now button. And if you click that button, it should dump you right into the Zoom. So just for future reference.
I'll try it again. Sorry.
Yeah, if you get stuck, if you ever get stuck, you can just go over to the website, greaterimpact.com, and there's a little yellow button at the top that says free classes or live classes. You can scroll to the class that you want, which leads me to an hour after this class is done live. I'm going to go live with the members in the membership area on that website. If you're not a member on that website, you can also participate for a small fee. We're going to do a live healing session based on the stuff that we talk about today. So I'm going to give you tools. We're going to take a deeper dive, or it's going to be very personal to you, to those who show up in that class, because otherwise this free class would be 2 hours long. And So healing sessions will be over on my website an hour after this. If you're interested in participating in that just for the one class, you can do it. Or if you want to sign up and become a subscriber, you can do that too. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to let's screen share here. Do a little presentation for you guys just to kind of walk you through some of the things that came up to yesterday in that conversation. Oh, this is not the right screen. Hold on one second. There we go. Come on. There we go. All right. Resolving mental illness. And again, if you have loved ones that could benefit from this, I recommend that you share it. Mental illness can show itself in a ton of ways, and we're going to talk about some of those ways in just a second. What I want to focus on today, because I think two of the most powerful or important roots to mental illness are anxiety and depression. I think that's where it starts for most people. But if it goes unchecked and you don't find resolution in any of the areas where it can be rooted, then it can max itself out. It can develop into things like schizophrenia, ADHD, bipolar disorder. Like there are many, many, many different mental illnesses, but I do believe that these are some of the roots, and we're going to talk about where these two things can also be rooted. Okay, let me just move this out of the way. Anxiety. Let's talk about anxiety for just a minute. The roots of anxiety. Anxiety is like a fight or flight symptom. It's the body's way of preparing itself to deal with a threat or to deal with future stressful events. While this response is normal and happens as part of the body's natural response to stress, this response can happen at inappropriate times or too frequently, as in the case of anxiety or emotional disorders. Come on. Why is it not? There we go. Anxiety is rooted in fear, self-doubt. It's a feeling of something is threatening you. You feel unsafe, unloved, incapable, not enough. It can result in extreme suffering, and it can be caused from extreme suffering too. So when you've gone through extreme suffering, you may experience PTSD or the effects of trauma, too much fight or flight, too much cortisol. Can also be rooted in a lack of wisdom, a lack of confidence. Like I said, fear of annihilation. So the remedy in its simplest form is the body and the brain needs to calm down. Okay, let's talk about depression for a second. Depression happens when people lose touch with the divine self. When you've lost touch with your divine self, you've also lost touch with your own personal inner power. You give your power away to an outside source. And when you do that, it depletes you of energy. And that's why they call it depression, because your energy goes way down. And this can happen when you're dishonest with yourself, when you lack inner authority and wisdom. It can happen when you're hyper-focused on yourself in a negative way. So there's a lot of mind chatter saying, I'm not good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, funny enough, capable enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not welcome. All those things. Whatever the I'm not enoughness is for you. So if you're hyper-focused on yourself in a negative way, you're going to experience the symptoms of depression. Depression can also be rooted in a fear of failure. You feel like a failure. You have negative self-talk. You lack joy. And your brain doesn't need to calm down. It needs to be nourished and healed and woken up. So a lot of these can be rooted in problems with the brain, but also disconnects from your higher self. How does true healing come? True healing comes when we access the divine mind and call forth higher information to bring our soul and body back into alignment with the mind and will of God. Now, this quote came from one of my favorite books. I'm going to do, well, you know what? I'm not going to stop screen share because it'll take me out of this presentation. I will share with you the books that I reference in here. I'll share you those at the very end. And I'll show you the books that I have that I use when I work with my clients. Um, Oftentimes, you cannot be healed from many illnesses, including mental illness, um, because there's something hiding inside of you, something that you don't want to look at. So you must bring what is hidden to the surface for investigation and then take accountability for what's inside of you and seek for resolution to what torments you from within. Again, another quote from the Healing Questions Guide. I'll share that with you later. But it really is, all healing is an exercise in, number one, awareness, and number two, being willing to get to the roots and find what's hiding inside of you that you don't want to look at or that you have not taken the time to resolve. It could be a trauma, a drama, or just some pains of the past. But either way, those things come with biological consequences, and they'll make you sick and they'll make you stuck unless you're willing to go within and look. All right, now this is the nitty gritty. Let's talk about some of the roots and the solutions then. I spent a little bit of time this morning just trying to prepare some of the things that I bring up when I work with my clients as far as solutions or getting to the root. Okay. So these are some of the steps in roots, getting to the root and finding the solution. So you got to get to the root. We are going to talk quite a bit about what that even means. What does it mean to get to the root of something that's afflicting you? Well, my understanding is that it has a lot to do with listening to what your body is saying to you and about you. If you will take the time to listen to your body, find out what the messages are buried deep within your body, and I will give you resources today to help you do that. But you got to get to the root. That's on you. Nobody else can do that work for you. So I find when I work with my clients, there's always going to be spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical roots to your suffering or to the problem that you have. It might not be mental illness. Maybe it's chronic autoimmune disorder or migraines or something. But either way, any kind of manifestation in your physical body that is less than optimal, there's going to be something either spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical that needs to be, it needs your attention. And your body's talking to you and it's telling you, hey, this is what this is about. So, I think step 2 in working through a mental illness, after you get to the root, you got to recognize that you need help. You have to take ownership of that and have an open mind and um, be humble enough to say, hey, I know that I'm acting out of sorts. This is not the true me. This is not acceptable behavior. And I'm so sorry. And I want help and I need help. And I'm going to seek after help. And I'm going to allow people to step in and intervene when I can't do it myself. And that might look like going to a doctor, hiring a coach, getting with a friend or a loved one and asking for insight. How do they see you? Okay. So recognize. That is step 1. You'll notice there's a lot of RE words. The first, well, there's a lot of R words. The first was getting to the root. Second is recognize that you have a problem and recognize what is actually at the root. Once you can recognize and have an awareness on what's at the root, man, you're halfway there, halfway to healed. 3, responsibility. Take responsibility for the environment that you have allowed to play out inside of your brain and inside of your body. That might be hard to do if you're too far gone in mental illness. You might not have the capacity to do that. So again, you're going to have to really use brute force to humble yourself and get some help. But I think a big key in getting help is taking responsibility and ownership for the environment that you yourself have allowed to be created inside of you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. What are you filling yourself with? What are you allowing to go on inside of you? You got to take responsibility for that. Otherwise, you're not going to heal. Number 4, resolve. Once you have figured out what's at the root, you've accepted and claimed 100% responsibility for whatever it is that you are identifying, and you've humbled yourself enough to get help and take ownership. Now you got to find some solutions. And there's millions of solutions out there. We live in a day and age where you can Google just about everything and at least get set on a trajectory that where you can find help, the help that you need. So reach out, then resolve the problem. I'm finding a lot more and more with, especially with anxiety and depression and bipolar and all these intense mental illnesses, you've got to find tools to help you reorder your mind and your brain. You've got to learn to re-regulate yourself. And sometimes that might be turn off the news, get good sleep, stop distracting yourself with food, drugs, alcohol, or whatever. In what way are you distracting yourself? Because the distractions won't heal you. Ask any alcoholic or food addict. The distractions will never heal you because they hold you in that place of fear. Mike says even people. Yeah. Addictions to people. I think that's what you meant. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go. I just lost my little tab. Hold on. There we go. Number 5, renounce the problem. Another RE word. And I think this is a really powerful word to basically say, hey, I am not walking that old path anymore. I'm not going to numb myself. I'm not going to distract myself with and self-medicate in order to tune out the fear that's in me or the unresolved PTSD from trauma in me. I'm going to face this. I'm going to resolve it. Then I'm going to renounce the problem. Someone said this last night at the dinner table. If you don't take responsibility, you lose your ability to respond. Your ability to respond is limited. So no response ability. You lose your ability to respond when you don't take responsibility. All right, let's move on to number 6. Remove the affliction. So if it's a spiritual illness, that might look like casting out. But, again, you got to start with getting to the root so you can figure out, okay, what is causing this affliction? I asked a friend yesterday, what do you think is at the root cause of mental illness? And she said, affliction. They're being afflicted. If you know that you're being afflicted with negative mental chatter or negative programming, or there's some effects buried deep in your heart and soul from old unresolved trauma, you're going to have to be proactive about getting to the roots of that and then removing the affliction. If you have negative self-talk or negative beliefs that say, I'm not enough, I'm not valued, I'm not lovable, I'm not safe, I'm whatever, whatever the negative self-talk is, if you're not proactive at casting the spirits of those negative, that negative programming out, it's constantly going to be able to afflict you. It's going to continue. It's not going to stop just because you went and drank a beer or ate a bag of chips or, something else in order to self-soothe. You got to be proactive. You've got to recognize that when your monkey mind is going off and saying, I'm not enough, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, or I'm I'm in a state of lack and fear. God doesn't talk to you that way. Your higher self does not talk to you that way. And if you're hearing that in your mind, you can bank on it. That's coming from a dark source. It's coming from, I would venture to say, the devil, the adversary. If you don't want to dance with the devil, you need to be proactive at casting those spirits out. Spirit of fear, spirit of lack, spirit of self-loathing or disapproval. You've got to cast that out, name it by name. Whatever you're feeling inside your body, if it's deep sadness, bitterness, pain, anger, regret, fear, whatever it is, you got to be assertive about that. And you have to be consistent, because if you're not consistent about removing these influences that are constantly afflicting you, they're going to stand their ground, and eventually they're going to take over that ground within you, because you are no longer the steward of your own vessel. You're not being proactive. So it takes a lot of awareness to go, hey, stop, stop, stop the negative self-talk. And so you're going to have awareness. You're going to have to move forward. You're going to have to stand your ground. And it's as simple as that. And if you don't, you're not going to resolve what's causing the mental illness in the first place. It just won't happen. So it starts with you. You can get help, but it starts with you. Okay. Let's talk about the spiritual roots. I'm going to go over the spiritual roots, the mental and emotional roots. I'm going to also talk about the physical roots. So I will present to you what I came up with as to what can cause spiritual roots of mental illness. And then we're going to talk about some of the things that maybe you can do to be proactive. And if you guys have additional things that maybe you feel like I'm missing and stuff pops into your head, please share. By all means, we want you to share. Okay, so spiritual roots. You're being afflicted. If you have depression or anxiety or chronic fear in your body, there is an affliction of some kind going on in you. You've got to put a stop to that and get the help that you need. If you don't know how to cast out, ask someone to help you learn how to do that, because spiritual warfare is real. It's a real thing. It's not frou-frou. It's real. It's legit. Don't hide it under a rug and think that it's going to ever go away. You're going to keep stubbing your toe on it. Number two, if there is a spiritual root to your mental illness or anxiety, depression, it could be that there's a belief in these negative voices that torment you. So you believe the adversarial voices more than you believe the voice of God. Number three, there may be something generational going on that's been passed down through your family line. Look at your family line. And if you don't know your family line, ask your parents or ask your siblings or ask your aunts and uncles or your grandparents. Is there a history of suicide, depression, anxiety, mental illness in our family line? Find out what the patterns are in your families, because these are generational curses and iniquities that have been passed down to you. So, and there are definitely ways that you can take care of these things and remove them. It's as simple as casting out for and on behalf of your generations forward and backwards. So it's a powerful mode or modality of healing when you learn to successfully cast things out of your energy, your space, your property, your environment, and your body, and your mind, and your personality, and your free will. Like, you got to cast it out of all of those places where they can get rooted. Number four, oftentimes people will foster and develop mental illness when they have high levels of low self-esteem, so a lack of self-love. Self-love is kind of a simple one. I'm not going to say easy, but it's simple to remedy. It's a matter of just learning how to love yourself without all the negative self-talk. Once you've cast the demons out of your brain and your body, then you get to decide what the narrative is, what the play is that's going on the stage. You get to decide that stuff. So, um, what I do is I take people through a process where I teach them how to let go of self disapproval and invite in self approval and love and compassion for self. But that takes a lot of awareness and humility if you're going to get there. Number 5, sometimes pride. If you think that you can do no wrong and that you have nothing and that there's nothing going on inside of you, nothing to see here, folks. I've swept it all under the rug so it doesn't exist. If you've buried trauma and drama or the effects of trauma and drama in the form of beliefs and emotions in your body and you have not dealt with those things, you have not processed and resolved those things, that's pride. Why are you holding on to that stuff? And sometimes you just don't know that it's there. So again, you can reach out, ask people to help you, get a coach, go get some counseling or some therapy or talk to a friend. Oftentimes, when you pursue big dreams and goals in your life, the triggers, the blocks, all that stuff will come to the surface. I guarantee you. It will come to the surface and reveal itself as you move in a forward direction of what you love and what you desire. But if your pride is standing in the way of that, you're not going to release those blocks. They're going to continue to curse you and make you sick. It comes with biological consequences. Number 6, another root cause of spiritual mental illness is misalignment with truth. If you're out of alignment with truth, here's an example. Let's say you're 6 years old and your parents get a divorce and you feel bad because you feel like if I was maybe if I was better or more lovable, or more obedient, my parents wouldn't have done this. Something's wrong with me. Is that true? No. It's a blatant, outright lie, but it's a belief that you carry around in your subconscious brain over and over and over. Go ahead, Lisa. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Yeah, there you go.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I wanted to touch on one that you mentioned earlier, which is with the our ancestors. Something that could have been passed down through generations. And I know that for me personally, an affliction that was passed down from my mother's father is like, I don't know if you would call it a curse, but it was an abusive weapon that was chemically, it's like the chemicals in my brain was causing me to have this cycle of abuse that has been passed down. And God said I needed to break the cycle so that I didn't pass the abuse on to my children and grandkids. And so I needed to go to the root cause, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the root cause was my grandfather and his father. And so his father came to my mother in a dream, and my grandfather came to me in a vision. And so I needed to ask Jesus how to help them work through it. And it was really fascinating that this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Whether you would call it mental illness, affliction, all of these things are connected in, and they are in our blood. They are in our spirit. They are in our mental, emotional, they are in our chemistry. Like, it's all connected and it's so crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to share that experience.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate all the feedback that you guys give in these classes. So I appreciate you jumping in on that. That was great. I would add one more to this. Spiritual roots of mental illness can also be you've disconnected from who you really are, your divine origin, right? Who you are as a divine being. If you don't know who you are, you're going to swirl around in this mucky muck down here. So, okay. So what can we do about some of these spiritual roots? Well, number one, we can cast out. We can say, hey, stop it. Get out. If a negative thought comes into your mind about yourself, that I'm not lovable, I'm not cute, I'm not funny, I don't fit in, I'm not welcome, I'm in the way, or whatever it is, you've got to cut those thoughts off at the pass, because that is the adversary weaseling its way into you to get a foothold in your kingdom. And they don't have the right to do that. So you've got to call it out. You got to be aware enough to go, hey, stop it. Get out. Get behind me, Satan, and don't ever talk to me that way again. Number two, learn to follow the true voice of the Spirit. That comes with practice. It comes with learning to listen, respond, and then look for whether or not the fruits were good. You're going to have to take some risks to do that. You're gonna have to overcome some fear of being a failure or making mistakes or being seen as crazy. But learn the art of following the true inner voice and the voice of the Spirit. That is God. 3, tap into the divine mind. That's your higher self. Figure out when your higher self is talking to you. Act in alignment with your highest intentions. Gosh, last week we did a class on tapping into your intuition. I would recommend going and watching the replay of that if you need to learn how to tap into the divine mind. Act in alignment with those things. So act on the impressions and promptings that you get from your higher self and from God. Get humble and start listening to positive self-talk. If you hear negative self-talk coming up in your monkey mind, start telling yourself, I love you. You're so cute. You're so adorable. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Like, start changing the narrative that's going on in your brain, because no one's going to do that for you. Nobody can. Little green men are not going to parachute down into your brain and start generating loving self-talk. You have to do that. And it takes humility and vulnerability and accountability and responsibility to do that. If you can't do it, go get help. Hire a mentor, ask a friend, find somebody that you resonate with that can help hold space for you and walk you through it. Okay. Let's move on to the roots of mental illness on the emotional and mental realm, right? So some of the roots from mental and emotional mental illness, like the that are coming from that level of you, could be coming from PTSD or trauma. If you have experienced some traumatic events, not just even in this life as a child, but in past lives, and you brought that energy with you unresolved. Maybe you brought that energy with you unresolved so that you would remember in this lifetime to resolve that. Hey, you put this here a long time ago. Could you please resolve it? 3, mind control or mental programs. Perhaps you've been through a lot of abuse through, there's a lot of systems out there that use manipulation and mind control in order to control the masses of people. This manipulation and mind control shows up in television, the programming, the way that we're presented to see the world, the way that we're conditioned to see the world. It shows up in religion. It shows up in societies and families, in, all the systems that are here. Sometimes there are actual legitimate, nefarious organizations that will project trauma onto, this is what happens to people in human trafficking. They'll project trauma onto these people in order to control and manipulate their minds, and then infusing them with mental programs by scrubbing and erasing their short-term and long-term memory. That's manipulation and abuse. So if you've been through that, that can be at the root of mental illness. What is the solution? We're going to talk about that on the next page. Number 5, you can't regulate your own emotions. If you don't know how to regulate your own emotions, they're not going to get resolved in you, and they're going to stay buried and stuck, and then you're going to build up this giant pressure cooker full of crap that isn't resolved. So learn tools. There are plenty of people in the world that can teach you tools for how to self-regulate your emotions. There are a lot of really great energy healing practices. The stuff that I do with quantum healing is really effective and powerful. It helps you to tap into your higher self. 6, if you are rooted in deception and fear, you're going to constantly be in a state of fight or flight. That's a release of cortisol. You'll be on a cortisol high, and I know this because I was on a cortisol high for 20 years. And it made me sick and tired and fat and brain foggy. So figure out where the deception is in you and root that out and resolve it. Number 7, if you have insecurity or pride, either or. Insecurities is going to make you go into a state of I'm not enough. Pride's going to make you go into a state of I can do no wrong. I walk on water. I'm never wrong. I'm always right. And so therefore, you'll never take any constructive criticism or positive feedback. You won't be humble enough to look within, and the problem will never get resolved. So you gotta resolve that. That's on you. 8, distracting yourself from the real problem. How do you distract yourself? Do you oversleep? Do you overeat? Do you take drugs or alcohol? Do you watch too much TV or media? Do you go shopping a lot? Like, what addictions do you have? What tendencies or compulsions do you have? What are you using to distract you from self-healing, the real problem, and getting to the root? You're going to have to humble yourself and find out what's at the root and then resolve that by getting help. 9, if you're disconnected from truth, we talked about that before. Same thing. So the same thing that showed up in the spiritual illness as well. Hold on. Someone needs to there we go. Just letting someone into the class. 10, chronic dishonesty, manipulation, control, abuse, self-hate, and I would even say self-abuse and insecurity. If you are dealing with chronic dishonesty in any of those forms, you're not willing to look at what you've buried deep inside of you from trauma or drama that you've experienced, it's going to be next to impossible for you to resolve the problem. Now, there are drugs. You can take drugs to help regulate your brain activity, but those drugs long term are not healthy for your body. They won't heal your brain. What will heal your brain is honesty and calming your mind down by tapping into your divine mind. That's the remedy. I gave you the remedy and we haven't even got there yet. Okay, here we go. Mental and emotional remedies. Number 1, get out of your head. Number 2, number 1, get out of your head. Learn how to get into your body and face the things that you have stored in there that are not resolved, and take accountability for that stuff and then resolve it. Find people to help you with tools. Number 2, get out of fight or flight. That's total anxiety, and it will lead to depression, the depression of your energy, because you're exhausted from being on fight or flight all the time. Eventually, your heart's going to give out. You're going to have a stroke. Something's going to happen to say, hey, I can't do this anymore. It's like when you're in fight or flight all the time for long periods of time and you're not going inside and regulating that inner environment to calm yourself down, it's like driving down the highway and your foot on the pedal of the gas is pressed to the floor all the time. That's hard on your vehicle. Eventually, you're going to run out of gas. Okay. Number 3, get some help. If you don't know how to self-regulate and get out of your head, have someone help you. Number 4, never let a crisis be an excuse to hurt yourself. This comes from a really great book that I'm going to share with you at the end in the resource section by Dr. Daniel G. Amen. It's an amazing book, but he said that. Never let a crisis be an excuse to hurt yourself. Number 5, you can do biofeedback training. Number 6, you can get neurofeedback assistance. There are many healthcare practitioners that provide these kinds of resources now, and it's getting more and more affordable. So do some research on that and see if there's someone in your local area that can help you with some of that stuff. Number 7, hire a mentor, a coach to help you through it, or a friend. Number 8, look inside yourself and be honest with yourself. Heal your heart, learn relaxation and self-regulation. Okay, let's talk about some of the physical roots then that can also play into and not just affect mental illness, but perpetuate it and make it even worse. You know, sometimes we see these little children being born with ADD and ADHD and OC, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? All these disorders. A lot of it has to do with their physical bodies. Some of it has to do with what was being passed down to them generationally, but it also has to do with were they vaccinated? Did they have poor gut health? Do they have an unhealthy gut flora or gut environment? That is going to weigh so heavily on your mental health and your brain health, so heavily. So, do you have poor blood flow? Are you stagnant? Do you exercise? You know, someone was telling me this yesterday, and I can't remember who it was, telling me that when you exercise, it's actually literal food for your brain. It activates your brain and turns on all the neurons and the synapses, and things start firing. And if you exercise first thing in the morning, that's when you're the most creative. So turn your brain on by getting out in nature. Do some walking or running or exercising or something. Do something other than sitting in front of the TV or drinking energy drinks or eating crap. 2, if you have inflammation or immune system problems, it could lower your brain's ability to self-regulate or to function in a healthy, normal way. So find out if you have that. This was the issue for me. I had poor blood flow. I had inflammation in my brain. I had toxins going on. I had hormone issues, blood sugar issues, and I also had head trauma. I didn't even make up this list, but I had almost all of these. I had gut problems, digestive problems. I wasn't sleeping well. My diet wasn't that great. So look at all of the different factors physically that might be influencing you, and one at a time. You don't have to overwhelm yourself, but one by one, see if there's anything that you can do to support your body a little better. Just clean up your diet. Clean up your diet. Throw out all the junk food. Do a 20 to 30 day cleanse. Drink some water. Go out in nature and get grounded. Take some vitamin D supplements and fish oil. Those are really good things that you can do as well. Oh, okay. I see Mike has his hand raised. Go ahead, Mike.
So I think it's completely crazy that this is the topic today, because this morning I was watching a video on TikTok from Dr. Gary Merbrecca, that talks about depression. And so I'm going to post a link in the chat to his YouTube video, but it talks about everything you're saying is so true, but it's all like depression starts with the gut. And the fact is depression stems from low serotonin. But if you go to a doctor, what do they put you on? SSRIs, which are they prevent your body from producing serotonin. And so then it just progresses the depression. And so he talks about if you were to, like, I was just watching the video trying to make sure that the information I wanted to share was in this video, but he was strictly just talking about if you put in raw materials into your gut,
Yeah.
in your diet, taking a B complex, taking a couple other big words that he uses as far as vitamins and stuff, that is what's going to, and yes, like your low serotonin stems from PTSD, or all these effects, trauma, and all that kind of stuff. But our or not physicians, our pharmacists and stuff completely go about medicine the wrong way, because they give you something that's supposed to help with depression, and in reality it does the exact opposite. It prevents your body from creating serotonin. So I just thought it was completely like mind-blowing that everything you're saying is exactly what he's saying. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, don't go and get put on some antidepressant. It's not going to help you. Is what you need to do is you need to get that gut factory mobilized again, and allow your body to naturally heal itself
Yeah.
by creating serotonin.
Yes. Did you know that serotonin, thank you, Mike, for sharing that, by the way. I really appreciate it. Did you know that serotonin um, levels in the body and oh, there's another one. It's melatonin and serotonin, but there's another one. The happy hormones that really provide good health and clear thinking, they are produced based on the way that you feel about yourself. They're influenced by your self-esteem. Dopamine, thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. Serotonin and dopamine. Those are hormones that are directly tied to your self-esteem. Yeah, Katie says, I saw the same video. He's good. So yes, if you'll share that resource, I will share it in the replay. I'll put it in the description of the video down below when we post it to YouTube. I have found too, vitamin D, get out in the sun. Soak up the sun. If you can't soak up the sun, take vitamin D or take some fish oil or something like that. I was going to ask Lisa, would you be willing to share, before we go back into the presentation, would you be willing to share what you do with the natural yeast to help heal your gut?
Sure, Janet. I can be put on the spot. That's fine. So for there's many family members and friends in my life that had uh that had a an intolerance to wheat. And so I tried to see if there was something that could help with that. And I found that sourdough actually healed that intolerance, that gluten intolerance. And I was like, I don't know about this, but let's try it. So I tried it on my daughter because she was having eczema and all of these gut issues. And they say that just one slice of the sourdough a day or one pancake a day would help her gut so much that she could eat the hard the starches and the sugars for the other meals, and it would not make her have that reaction. And I swear that it healed her gut and that it also helped heal my gut.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't
too.
have and Janet's gut, and I feel that it is an experiment that anyone could try to see, if they have bad gut health because of all of the starches and the sugars that are in our diet. The sourdough breaks down the starches and the sugars so that you can better digest it. And it's supposed to stay in your gut for 24 to 48 hours. So one piece of bread should stay in your system for that long so that you can still, because, in our society, it's really hard to eat whole foods that have all of the vitamins and minerals that we need and to keep our gut health full of the probiotics and prebiotics. But one slice of bread or one pancake can do it if you do it right. If you leave the sourdough on the counter for a certain amount of hours or in the fridge for at least 3 days
Yeah.
before you feed it again. So
Yeah.
there's that.
We
That
could do
is
a whole
that's
class on it, and I think we
right.
should.
That
Uh,
would be really good.
Yeah, next year is going to be a jam-packed year because we're going to be talking about the divine identity of Christ, but we're also going to be talking about the laws of health. So maybe that could be one of our classes. But someone just asked any sourdough, and I would say no, it's not just any sourdough. We'll post a link to a really great book that
Yeah.
we use as a resource to help you get
Yep.
started, and you can take it from there. But yeah, the sourdough has really helped me personally. I did kombucha for a while, and that helped me. The sourdough bread helped me because I had tremendous gut problems as a result of being in fight or flight for 20 years. It ruined my gut, um, all that cortisol. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you
You're
being
welcome.
put on the spot. All right, we're gonna go back. I just want to finish up this presentation because we're almost out of time. Here we go. We did talk about the physical effects. Let's, oh man, I lost my little arrow. Hold on. It's not letting me. Give me a sec. Thanks for being patient. Ha. There we go. There it is. What are the remedies then for the physical effects of, or the things that are at the root cause of mental illness? Some things that you can do to help support your body physically for the purpose of mental illness. And I would say drink kombucha, eat sourdough bread. We can add that to the list as well. Heal your brain. Number two, I'm going to give you guys some resources for how you can go about doing that. Some really great books that maybe you could read that might set you on that path. Support your body with essential nutrients. Clean up your diet. Throw away all the junk food and all the garbage food and the energy drinks and the soda pop and all of the toxins that you're pouring into yourself. Start eating foods that are filled with light. That's plants. Anything plant-based is probably filled with light. So start consuming things that are going to support you, your brain, and your body in that way. Get good sleep, do a detox or a cleanse, toss out crappy food, alcohol, drugs, get clean. 6, take vitamin D or fish oil. 7, drink a lot of water to cleanse your body. You got to support the physical body. 8, do some grounding, meditation, or some exercise. Physical exercise is so healing for your brain and for your body. 9, learn the laws of health. We're going to teach you this next year. Over in my members area on my website, Great Life, Greater Impact, we're going to go through the laws of health through this coming year. So learn those. Number 10, essential oils, lemon. You can read the list. Marjoram, orange, rose, basil, cypress, lavender, clary, sage. These are all really great essential oils that can help support you and your brain health and your mental health. All right. This is the last slide. Find your way to wholeness. You're the only one who can engage in those initial steps. If you need help, get help. But find your way to wholeness. All right, that's it for this presentation. I'm going to stop the share. See what's going on in the chat here for a minute. Is there a brand that you recommend? As far as the supplements and the oils, no, not really. You ask your body what it wants. If you can learn how to ask your body questions, yes, no questions, by doing the sway test or muscle testing, that might be really helpful. Just go do a search on YouTube and find out how to do the sway test or muscle testing. Ask your body what it wants. Your body will tell you. Every time I go into the health food store and I walk down the aisles of supplements and vitamins, I'll say, okay, in regards to this issue, body, is there anything on this aisle or this aisle that you want? And I'll just wait for my body to sway forward or backward. And I narrow it down. Is it on the top shelf, the middle shelf, the bottom shelf? Is it on the right side or the left side? Is it, in the middle on the, you just narrow it down until your body takes you to exactly where you're supposed to go. You might even want to go back and watch the replay of this video and make a list of different things, both spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, and ask your body, what is at the root of my problem? Ask your body some questions. Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? Ask your body the questions and then start narrowing it down from there so that you can move in a proactive way. If you don't feel comfortable asking your body questions, get a partner or a friend that can help you with that. That's someone that's objective and disconnected from you, but that can help you with that. And see if you can do some troubleshooting that way. Magnesium. How did we forget to talk about magnesium? Oh my gosh. Yeah, do some research on the powerful effects of magnesium. You can buy magnesium flakes. You can make your own magnesium oil and spray it onto your body and let it absorb into your skin or under your tongue, or take Epsom salt. Take Epsom salt baths. Put Epsom salt under your tongue and then swallow a big glass of water after you swallow it. Get some magnesium in your body because magnesium will help you to absorb all the other nutrients from your food and your supplements. Lisa says the book that you want to get for the sourdough is The Art of Baking with Natural Yeast by Melissa Richardson. So I will put the link to that book, the Amazon link to that book, in the description below the YouTube video when you get the replay. Katie says, take care of your vagal nerve. It's the fight or flight, fight response nerve, the 10th cranial, wandering nerve, and it innervates all of the visceral organs. Yes. One of the ways that we can activate your vagus nerve here in your neck, because your emotions are regulated by the nervous system. So if you can activate the nervous system through diet and exercise and deep breathing, oh my gosh, that was another one, meditation and deep breathing, all of those are really super helpful. But a good way to activate your vagus nerve is smile. Pull all those muscles up towards your ears and pull everything towards your face. Smile, hold that, and then drop down into your body as you relax. But relaxation, deep, profound relaxation is really, really helpful. Someone says, merci, Janet, really helpful presentation today. You're welcome. I wish I could say you're welcome in French. I grew up around French because I grew up in Canada, but I can't remember how to say you're welcome. Okay. Mike says, beyond basics with natural yeast. Oh, you got that already. Okay. Yeast recipes for whole grain health. Okay. And then Mike, if you get the chance to drop the link to that video you had recommended, you can either share it with me on Facebook and I'll post it in the replay, or you can drop it here. But once we get off.
I already put it in there.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
And that book is the one that Lisa was talking about.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Some last resources for you. Obviously, I'm going to start with my resources because I want you to work with me, or I would like for you to work with me. I think that would be amazing and fun. I love doing this work. I'm a quantum healer and I do quantum healing work. And what I do is I help take you to the uncharted waters of who you really are for healing and for spiritual awakening and for inner guidance and personal transformation. And that's what I do. And I love this work so much, and I believe in it so much. I have a passion for it because it pulled me out of a 25-year battle with 5 autoimmune illnesses, one of them being a gluten problem. And I was able to heal those things and resolve those things by getting to the roots. I was able to walk away totally and completely from depression and anxiety because I was able to get to the roots. So if you would like to become a practitioner, if you would like personal mentoring, reach out to me or go to the website Great life, greater impact. But these are some charts that you get when you go through the certification program. You're going to learn about centering. You're going to learn about different ways to clear and process and release the psychosomatic roots that are triggering a physical biological response in you. You know, at the end of the day, if it gets into your physiology, that's the end result. Your symptoms is just a manifestation of something inside of you that's not resolved. We've got charts for helping you to trigger the gunk and get rid of it. We've got charts to help you read the body. This is a this is a chakra chart that helps you to understand the different energy centers in your body and what they're about. We have body reading charts to help you understand what all of these different points on the body are telling you and saying to you and saying about you. There's an emotional body reading chart that tells you where you store different emotions in your body. These are all in my program, greatlifegreaterimpact.com. And if you want to be a part of that, reach out and just let me know. Karen has a comment or a question. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to share this real quick. This is Celtic salt, and she's a, I can't think of the right term, but anyway, she's out of Australia, and she talks a lot about natural healing.
Barbara
and
O'Neill.
Yes, yes. And she talks about take a little bit of Celtic salt,
Yep.
just like that, with your water. And that Celtic salt has 82 minerals, and it will help the water absorb in the cells.
Yeah.
And it's full of magnesium.
Yeah. Yes, I do that, and I love it. And it has helped me immensely. I was pre-diabetic. I had a heart attack a year ago, and I was pre-diabetic, which is so stupid because I eat very clean. I probably eat the cleanest out of most of the people in my family, and yet I was still having all of these problems. And it was the Celtic salt that helped to really re-regulate my hormones and help me not be thirsty and dehydrated all the time. So thank you for sharing that. That's powerful. Okay.
You're welcome.
Anybody else before I go on to the books section? Okay, so some of the books that I really loved that will help you to get to some of the non-tangible roots, because, you know, to be honest, these things are created in the spirit first before they ever manifest in the flesh. All of the gunk that you're storing within you has biological consequences. So by the time it gets to your body, that's just a manifestation of something deeper, a problem that's not resolved. So if you want to understand your body, there's some great books to help you do that. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol Trueman. This is my third copy of this book, and I've about used it to death. It's a great book. It's a resource that I use every day. Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. Another really great book. It's a cute little resource that helps you look up different symptoms that are going on in your body to find out what your body's saying to you and about you. But you know what? You can also use these charts and they work just as well. And it's easy reference to grab. But this is another book that I use in my certification program. It's a must if you're going to understand how to help take someone to the uncharted waters of themselves and really get real and honest and truthful. This is a great resource. It's she used this book and this book and then another 700-page book on psychosomatic illness. But this is a really great resource. I use this every day when I'm working with my clients, and it's just a book filled with questions. She's got them listed in alphabetic order. You can look up the different symptoms in your body, and it will ask you questions to help you dig down deep into what's really going on with you subconsciously. And once you can put awareness on that stuff, then that's where the power comes in reclaiming your power and shifting it. Where can we order the charts? The charts come through the certification program on my website, greatlifegreaterimpact.com. If you want to get certified, that's where these charts come from. There's another really great book, Feel Better Fast by Daniel G. Amen. I borrowed this book from a friend just yesterday, and I was flipping through it this morning going, holy cow, this guy's amazing. He's a doctor, and he did over 150,000 different brain scans to find out why mental illness was plaguing people. And so he started reverse engineering the problem, and he has a really high success rate in helping people with neurofeedback, biofeedback, healing the gut, improving circulation, all the things that we talked about. He kind of goes into that in his book. So it's a great resource if you're battling mental illness and you want to feel better fast and you want to get healthy. If you'd like help hiring a mentor or a coach, you can reach out to me. I also have other mentors who have worked in my program as certified healers, and I can refer you to them as well. Some of them have specialties in anxiety or addictions or different things, and so I can refer out to some of my students, my past students, and give you resources there as well. So let me know if you need anything along those lines. And I think that's it for today. Does anybody have questions or comments or want to wrap this up with one final takeaway before I do? Go ahead.
I just want to put a plug out there for Janet as a student of hers. I will completely tell you it is 100% worthwhile to work with Janet or anybody that has worked under or is working underneath her, because it will change your life dramatically.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And your life has changed dramatically. Could you share what was the big takeaway for you in the change? How did that change come about? Was it higher self?
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
100%. Like, I now have a business called Higher Self Healing.
Wow.
And today is my birthday. Today is 14 months of sobriety. And like, I truly would not be the person I am today without Janet in my life.
Wow.
I can't say how much I love you dearly, and like, seriously, like, the knowledge that I have gained is, and trust me, I'm human and I still struggle,
Me too.
but it is a completely different type of struggle because I can acknowledge my feelings now rather than hide them and suppress them. And unfortunately, I can't keep Janet on speed dial 24 hours a day.
So, Mike, if you'll also share, you can just share it in a private message for me, your link, if you have a website or just how you want people to reach out to you. I'll just put a plug in for Mike because you work specifically with people who need to overcome addictions. And so I'll put a plug back to you. I think there's a huge need for that. And we'll promote that in the replay down below. Also, one last resource. Thanks again, Mike, for that testimonial. I really, really appreciate that. I think I don't think there's a more important work that could be done that we could be spending our time on than learning about who you really are, what you're here to do, what you're made of, where you came from, and how you can overcome the flesh. I can't think of anything more important than that. So the last resource I'm going to share with you, the Word of God. Whoa. It's nice and heavy and big and thick, and you could spend a lot of time in here. I could witness and testify all day long on how healing the word of God is. It will heal your physical body when you take it into your body through your brain and then act on it through your free will. So that's another healing agent that I use. Probably the greatest resource, in my personal opinion, is the word of God. It's very healing. And there are scriptures on that that teach about if you want to heal the physical body, immerse yourself in the word. So, all right. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the remarks. Thank you for adding things that I have left out, and you may still add. If you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to comment or share or add your perspectives down below in the comments. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Mwah. And don't forget to join me over on the website in 45 minutes. We're going to do a live healing session. Did you have something else, Mike?
No, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, it's all good. Thanks everybody for being here. Have a blessed day. Mwah.